We all have that one thing we desperately want to do, yet actively avoid starting. You outline the perfect plan to launch a project, but suddenly find yourself scrolling for an hour instead. You know a conversation is necessary, but you stay quiet for years. These behaviors are often dismissed as a lack of discipline. We tell ourselves we're lazy or that our personalities are permanently flawed, making us incapable of sticking to a plan. Psychoanalyst Carl Jung observed a deeper cause. He noticed that the human unconscious mind actively works to keep us inside what feels familiar, even when that familiar place has become miserable. In her book, The Mountain Is You, author Brianna Wiest explains that self-sabotage is actually a subconscious protective mechanism. The brain often misinterprets sudden change as a threat rather than a desired improvement. This mechanism functions as a biological defense system. When the subconscious misinterprets progress as a danger, it triggers specific safeguards intended to preserve the status quo. Bypassing these defenses requires mapping the underlying architecture. Every internal roadblock is supported by a repeating psychological loop, a cycle fueled by unconscious rules and old emotional wounds. The cycle begins when an unmet emotional need triggers a protective behavior. Overworking to seek validation eventually blocks progress through burnout. This failure reinforces a negative identity, strengthening the original fear, and the cycle resets. Breaking this loop involves treating negative emotions like anger or sadness as dashboard signals. These feelings indicate specific internal needs rather than personal failures. Accurate interpretation depends on distinguishing the voice of intuition from the noise of trauma. True intuition feels calm and clear. Intrusive thoughts arrive as loud panic, creating an artificial sense of urgency. Decoding these signals turns destructive impulses into a precise map. Each reaction shows exactly which part of the internal system requires attention. The moment you attempt a significant change, you may experience unexplained anxiety or a sudden urge to quit. You feel drained, as if your mind is physically pulling you back to old habits. This is a result of homeostasis, the nervous system's hardwired drive to maintain stability and predictable routines. The brain registers a departure from known patterns as a physical threat to survival. It prioritizes the safety of the familiar over the benefits of the unknown. Brianna Wiest calls this chaotic transition between the old and new self adjustment shock. During this period, the body remains in a state of hypervigilance and emotional exhaustion. This intense discomfort signals the very real biological friction of your brain physically reorganizing its long-held neural pathways. It is the necessary evidence of growth and progress. Massive overnight life overhauls usually trigger the brain's homeostasis alarm, leading to a quick retreat into old patterns. Successful change occurs through micro-revolutions. By implementing a staircase of tiny increments, you bypass the alarm system, as these small steps do not register as a threat to the subconscious. This means walking for 5 minutes a day instead of starting an intense gym routine, or having one honest conversation a week. These small choices build a new identity through repetition. Progress requires separating physical actions from emotional states. You can take the necessary steps toward a goal even while fear and doubt are present. Waiting for motivation is a common trap. Action must occur before you feel ready, as the feeling of readiness often only arrives after the behavior has changed. Visualization can neurologically rehearse this process. Vividly imagining your future self trains your brain to recognize a new identity before it fully arrives. Self-mastery is the daily practice of recognizing internal resistance and choosing growth-oriented action regardless of fear. It is the steady climb toward the person you are meant to become.